Blaine Fowler Morning Show. I'm Blaine. That's Joe. I'm Lauren. Great to meet you guys. Joe went to this high school many years ago.
You can wake up and roll out of bed in sweats and get into a new pair of sweats and go to work. It's so like back there, that was the production studio, that was the main radio room, and that used to be the newsroom where I learned how to edit this thing called tape. You recorded onto actually plastic stuff, and you'd have to cut it with a razor blade. And now, like all your iPhones and stuff, they can have full-blown production studios on them.
Just a little background on us. So our morning show is on from 5 until 9 every weekday morning. And we're also on Dish Nation on Fox 2. And so like this curtain reminded me of this. We have our own studio. Most radio stations don't have separate studios for separate shows. You basically share the same studio all day long. You got to get out when the next show comes in, blah, blah, blah. We're lucky enough to be able to stay in our studio all day long if we want to work on bits and things like that for the next day. But one of the things that we do every day is we tape a segment for Dish Nation. And we have a curtain set up in the room with our logo on it. We have some lighting that we actually put together. We've had green screen. We've done stuff with the green screen at the radio station too. So even if you do get into radio, it's a much more visual business now than it was just 5 years ago.
With radio, do you also do TV productions too or no?
A lot of people, if you go to broadcast, for example, if you go to Specs Howard, you'll learn both, correct? Yeah. Most broadcast schools are going to teach you both. And I would recommend that you learn both because a lot of the best people in TV used to be radio people. Yeah. A lot of them. Remember David Letterman, who used to do the Late Show with David Letterman? Tom Bergeron, who used to host America's Funniest Home Video. All these people, they did radio. Wendy Williams did radio for a long time. Jimmy Kimmel was a morning show producer for a long time.
When I went to broadcasting school, I was all about television. I got into radio because the first paying gig I could get was a radio gig. And it was production and radio. And I was like, all right, I need to make money. I'm going to go for it. And I ended up falling in love with this path. So the more skills you have, the more opportunity you have to make that money a little bit quicker and to go down different paths.
One thing that most people don't realize is that we do a lot of video that never makes it to air. We do it straight for clients. We shoot, we're on the drive-in screens. If you go out to the USA Hockey Arena in the summertime, video is what they call a value add for our business. And a lot of times sales sometimes needs video to close the deal or needs video to make a client feel better about what's going on. And
Ray, come here for a second.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask Ray.
Yeah.
Here, I'm going to be a student. Ray, could you please tell us, in your own words, how much has the radio selling business changed in the time that you've been selling? How long have you been selling first?
I've been selling about 13 years now.
Okay. So in 13 years, there's been quite a change.
Yeah, it has. I mean, all really the whole digital side of things and the video sides of things has really been added in. So in years gone by, you put a commercial together, you put it on the air. Today, basically, I describe it as an octopus. You've got as many arms as you can have out in the community to reach as many people as you can. And one arm might be streaming your music. One might be the video. The customer may be doing a commercial on Comcast, so we can take that commercial and put it on our website through our banner ads. So that commercial can now appear on our station's website. So there's lots of bits and pieces. There's also all the appearances, those types of things.
It's almost like you went from selling one thing to selling like 10 things.
Yeah.
So you have all these different avenues now that you sell. And that's something to keep in mind. You guys may get into TV or radio, and maybe you're on camera or behind camera. Well, that's one of the behind the camera jobs or behind the scene jobs. You're selling something. This is valuable. This school district spends a lot of money each year on advertising so they can attract good students, good families, so that they can keep great programs like this alive. And it's very valuable. It's also very hard. What he sells is an intangible. I want you to give me $50,000, and I'm going to make sure that a whole bunch of people come through your door. Now, that's a lot. That's a huge commitment. That's putting your trust in this thing, and you've got to have data to back up, okay, we have X amount of listeners at such and such a time and all that kind of stuff. And the client has to feel okay handing over $10,000, $20,000, $50,000. And that's not even our biggest client. Our bigger clients will spend somewhere around what, like $100, maybe even $200 a year?
Oh, yeah. Probably more than
Yeah.
that. Yep.
Yeah. So there's all these different jobs and opportunities within broadcasting.
I have
Anybody
a quick
else?
question.
Yeah.
So my question is, and it's interesting because most of these kids signed up to be in this class. Right. But on day one, when I asked them how many of you regularly listen to radio, not many hands went up. So I'm just kind of curious, what as an industry are we doing to attract younger listeners? And it may not be your station specifically because you're adult contemporary, but I'm just kind of curious.
Social media is huge. I think we are on apps now. We have our own app. We're still on iHeart. That's questionable. Let's see how much we know. But we are, like you were just talking about, Ray, the octopus. We have to be that way on the broadcasting side as well. We realize, especially your age, even older, closer to my age, all of our ages, people are using social media a lot. What do you do when you first wake up in the morning? You check your Facebook. What are you paying attention to? You're paying attention to ads? Probably not. Are you paying attention to things that you're interested in? Maybe. So, we have to think of it in terms of that way. The video, like Joe was talking about, a lot of times you put video up and people are interested in what you're doing there. And they're like, where can I listen if I don't necessarily do it in my car? Now the cars are being done with apps. You can plug in your iPhone. So if we're on an app in that way or whatever phone you use, maybe you can listen to us that way. So it is a good question because it is hard. And it's funny, we go to places and I meet somebody like, you're on the radio? Sorry, but I don't listen. And I'm always like, it's fine. You'll find me. Don't you worry. It is. We have to constantly change and evolve. And in this business, you're always changing and evolve. And that's just one of the challenges that we're always changing to try to make work.
I just wanted to add, I do some side work for Pandora. There's a great debate going on about revenue generated by streaming services and by basically anything that delivers you music legally for free. And the challenge that they have is that bandwidth costs money. And in order to pay for that, you have to sell ads. The problem is everybody believes that the content is free. People aren't willing to do click-throughs. People aren't willing to pay the price, as it were, to go through and monetize these services. And so that problem brings us to a dilemma that I was involved with when I was working for MTV and we were doing a streaming service. They had a problem where they realized that after a while, after paying for music licensing and bandwidth and technology and server and then ad space and things like that, there was not money left over to pay for the service. So the service went under. And the people that I know over at Pandora are dealing with that right now. They have great parties and they have all this great stuff, but how many people here are subscribing to the paid part of Pandora for no commercials?
Paying for it.
Nobody.
No one. That's the problem.
Yeah. And there's also Spotify. There's other places to get the same content. So to answer the question,
That thing where you can, yeah.
right. The thing about radio and television, at least the terrestrial versions, is that we at least have an established foothold on a market. So you can hear, like, yes, younger generations aren't listening, but if you look at statistically all over the country, terrestrial radio still has hundreds of millions of listeners.
I want to say it's somewhere around 90-95%. Somebody listens to the radio. At some point, the hard part is it's not active, it's passive. Especially terrestrial radio, what we do. So instead of XM or Sirius, when you throw on 96.3 or whatever you throw on, it's very, I'm just going to see what's on. And you're not really, I have to hear this brand or I have to do this, that, or the other thing. Whereas I think to a certain degree, Pandora, Spotify, that's active. You have to it's a little bit of work to find it and get it. It's not so much now as it was a few years ago, but it's definitely an active thought where you go, okay, I want to listen to Spotify because I know I can hear 21 Pilots right away. So
It's funny. I was just at a Chipotle the other day getting dinner, and the girl, I was wearing a DVD, and the girl waiting on me was like, can I just ask you, do you work at 96.3? I said, I do. And she said, I'm at college now, but you just made me so happy because you remind me of my mom and how we used to listen to that on the way to the car. And I still think I learned in school, there's nothing like live and local radio in your small towns. Whether you guys are probably doing more of the iTunes scene streaming, your parents grew up with that. And it just brought her back for like a quick second in the middle of a busy Saturday night to this like visceral experience with her mom. And she might call her mom and be like, oh, you used to listen to 96. She said, Blaine's Brainbuster. We always used to listen. And, and so I think people love that live and local. Where do you go when you can get the snow closures and you're in your car already? If you don't have the television on, you can go to the radio. There's certain things that I think people still grab onto that when you tune into Spotify, you're not getting that. You're getting your favorite music, but you're not getting that live and local kind of feel.
Okay, so assuming that the radio and TV industry is very competitive, what would you suggest would be a good idea to make yourself more marketable?
Have a good attitude, show up on time, be fun. I promise you, if you do that, you're going to be better than 80% of the people you're competing against.
They always say our boss now, who I worked with back on the East Coast, right? When he started working with me, I had very little experience and I was terrible. I'll be honest with you. I was fumbling through breaks and everything like that. But he always says, yes, talent is there and experience should be there, but it's how you are in the halls, right? That's a good expression. So I walked in there every day with a smile on my face. I did just what Ashley was talking about. Hey, I know it's last minute. Can you go do an event? We're not paying you anything. Will you be there? I'll be there. Things that you just think for any job you want to apply yourself when you want to succeed. In this business, that's what's going to set you apart from anybody else. We work with some very, very talented people. You might walk by them in the hallway and they might not say a word to you. People remember that because there are a lot of talented people out there, but it's how you are with the people you work with and it's how you represent yourself. And always just know that people are always watching. They're always listening. You can grow talent, you can grow skill, but your personality is you, you know? So show that best part of you. And that's the best advice I could give.
And always keep working at it. We have a lot of people that we know who were working in radio, who were doing pretty good things in radio that decided, no, I don't want to do that anymore. And now they're the people that are posting on Facebook, I hate my job and I hate going to work and I hate this. You're in an industry already early enough that if you just keep sticking with it, good things will come of it. And it's going to be something where you'll have to sort of tell yourself, it's not all going to come at once. It's not all going to be the second I graduate high school or the second I graduate college or when I get done with specs. It won't happen right away.
You're exposed to many, many things here between radio and television. If you have the opportunity to learn a new skill within the field, do it. You'll never know, number one, you might fall in love with it. Blaine and I have both been production directors. Lauren's been a music director. So guess what? Record labels and rock stars would take her out to lunch and dinner. You know, Blaine and I, our voices would be all over commercials all over the place. There's really cool stuff you can learn, but you can't do that without learning how to do the little things like edit a phone call. And also do it with a smile and do it at 3 a.m. if somebody needs you to do it at 3 a.m.
It's so important to have a good attitude. It really is. I mean, Ray, you've been doing this for 13 years. It's the same thing in sales. Have a good attitude. Come in and try new things. We tried something new today. It sucked. It was horrible. We had our little post-show meeting with our boss. He goes, well, the interview with the moon was terrible. That was painful. I'm like, yeah, it was bad. You know what? Let's do it again tomorrow and make fun of ourselves for having done it. But don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to say yes when you really want to say no. Just keep trying and you'll be fine.